In today's show, lessons from the first couple games in the playoffs. And how do they apply to the Trailblazers at home? Well, let's get into it. Welcome to Locked On Blazers.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Blazers your first listen every day. Free and available on all platforms. Make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your pals to do the same. We've got a fun show for you today. The Blazers are not playing in the playoffs, but your boy, I am watching a ton of playoff basketball, and it has me kind of thinking about the lessons we learn in the postseason, and both kind of like what that says about what you need to be, what you need to have, and what type of team you need to be to have success in the postseason, and what the Blazers can do from where they are today with, you know, six pretty good players and hopefully a healthy Damian Lillard coming back full force to be one of these type of successful teams. So we're going to talk sort of playoff lessons learned the first couple games. Most series, all series now, I believe, are at two. Not everyone, because this is Wednesday's show, and we'll get the final game twos on Wednesday evening. But the majority of the first round series are at 2 games, so we've seen most of the teams a couple times. And so let's talk about what we've kind of learned, lessons learned from the first couple of games. The big lesson, like the first sort of big lesson for me, is just the value of versatility, and I mean that in versatility both in shape. Like the ability to play big, the ability to play small, the ability to play, to shape shift and have, here's our best core players. Three dudes are definitely gonna be on the floor. Who is the fifth or who is the fourth and the fifth that sort of make this thing work? And I'm thinking about that in the way Memphis bounced back against Minnesota. In the first game against the T-Wolves, they just didn't have the Grizzlies just didn't have a spot for Steven Adams. They didn't know what he was going to do on defense. He was in the drop coverage, and they was getting beaten just pull-ups because D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards can do that. Particularly Ant just ate him up when he was in a soft drop. Then they tried to bring him up high, and he got ran past, and then they were putting him in pick and rolls with Cat, and Cat was taking advantage of him with his shooting and his versatility, or his like sort of just scariness as a jump shooter against a big. And so what Memphis countered was that Steven Adams didn't even last 3 minutes in game 2. He played 2 minutes and 50 seconds. They yanked him. They played pretty much exclusively smaller with mostly Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 5, but also, staying with like a shooting smaller-ish 5 with Killian Tilly coming off the bench, etc. Like they said our half-court offense wasn't very good, and our defense we couldn't stop them at all. Is there a way that maybe we can juice our half-court offense to make us just way, way better? And then if the trade-off is we'll still have a really good defensive player in a trip in Jaren Jackson on the court, and as long as that is the case, then we will live with it because we think we can bounce back and just play a much better game on offense. It'll open us up and it'll allow us to play a certain way on defense that we're more comfortable with. We don't have to figure out a scheme for Steven Adams. That versatility really matters. Like that shape-shifting versatility really matters. Steven Adams is really good. He's what makes the Grizzlies special. In some ways, like during the regular season, his offensive rebounding, his screen setting, his passing really opened up a lot of them. I was not a believer in that trade, and he was great for him in the regular season. You get into this matchup, it's not good. They yank him. That versatility really, really matters. And then the other thing I'm thinking about versatility is just scheme versatility. Being able to do a bunch of different stuff. And I'm talking about this the way I watched the Mavericks kind of give the Jazz the business in game 2 to split that series without Luka Doncic. And mostly I'm talking about the Mavs defense. The Mavs showed them everything, the whole dang bag. They switch a bunch, like that's their go-to move, and they too, like so many teams do, downsized a little bit, taking Dwight Powell out of there, putting Maxey Kleber at the 5, and just living with switches. But they didn't just switch. They didn't say, okay, we've got a small switchy lineup. This is going to be the thing we live and die by. They played everything. They played a little bit of drop coverage every so often to just like show, whether you drop the big man back and pick and rolls, or kind of playing center field, like lower than the screen, and you can invite mid-range pull-ups and things of that nature. The Jazz typically killed drop coverage, but a little bit of it was sprinkled in the right times, like against Michael Conley, who maybe isn't as aggressive for pull-ups as opposed to, say, a Donovan Mitchell, although they played a little bit of it against Don too, just to show them a different look. And then they mixed in a bunch of zone. And it's like that isn't necessarily like a lineup thing. That isn't shifting sizes or saying, hey, we can't play a traditional big, we need to go another direction. This was just scheme versatility, the ability to show a bunch of different defenses. And I think that is real, like if you're going to win in the playoffs, to being able to say, okay, they're tearing us apart in our base coverage. Do we have anything else we can throw at them? Or, hey, we're going to play our base coverage down the stretch because that's what we're best at. But can we steal a couple possessions? Can we screw up the middle, some middle game possessions by showing them a different look? Can we show them a different look enough times? Hey, let's play 7 straight possessions of zone because we know we can win 6 of those 7 possessions, and that's great. That's we win that's almost 85% win rate. Like let's give them something else. Chauncey Billups, I asked him about this during the season. Is like the Blazers played zone a bunch early in the year, and they sucked at it because they were pretty much bad at everything in December. And I asked him, like, why did you stick with it? Like, what did you see? Because they were just getting torched, right? And he said because he knows that and particularly from his time with the Clippers, one year he spent as an assistant in the NBA prior to getting the Blazers job, was like, that was really valuable. Having the zone in the bag was really valuable. So he didn't want to just try to introduce it late in the season. He wanted it to be part of what the Blazers did. And they leaned on it a bunch down the stretch with, as they put in the sort of the tank squad in there too. But like he appreciated that versatility. Now, I don't think the Blazers play, mostly they're going to switch 1 through 4 and kind of have Nurk at the level of the screen. And they were really aggressive, trapping pick and rolls and stuff like that. But they didn't always, and then everybody got hurt and we didn't really see it, but they didn't always trap pick and rolls. Like for the most part, early in the season, they did it more than anyone else. They were as aggressive in their scheme as anyone else, but they sort of, after Dame got hurt, they weren't as aggressive in that. And I think that's the kind of scheme versatility you want to see the Blazers. I have no idea like what they're going to look like next season in a lot of ways. We just got such a bad sample size of what Billups is like as a coach. Like whether I think we got a sense of what he wants to do, but whether he can get the guys to do it, I don't think we got a really good sense of. But I think we saw some of that scheme versatility, at least in his the way he prefers to do things. And I think that's valuable because when you get to this level, when you get to this stage of the season, when you get to the high preparation stage of the season, teams know what you're going to do and they know what you want to run. So being able to do a couple different things has some real value. All right. I got some other thoughts, some other lessons learned. We'll share those in the second segment. Before we do that, I want to tell you about Shady Rays. It's the independent sunglasses company that's giving you the features of $200 sunglasses for a fraction of the price. That means polarized lenses, well-constructed durable frames, and premium high-end finishes. Also, something you won't find anywhere else is Shady Rays has a wonderful protection program, like the best that there is. Shady Rays includes lost and broken protection on every pair of glasses. They'll send you a brand new pair if you lose them, no matter what happened. Give them a try, and if you don't love them, you'll pay nothing. It's as simple as that. Plus, 10 meals are donated to fight hunger in America when you shop with Shady Rays. Exclusively for my listeners, head to shadyrays.com right now. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. Get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's code LOCKEDON for their best deal of the season. 50% off of 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays sunglasses at shadyrays.com. All right. Let's talk about some other lessons learned from the playoffs, shall we? Scheme, versatility, both in being able to play a couple different types of lineups depending on who you play against, and like shape versatility, scheme versatility, really important. But the other thing I've noticed, the other lesson I've learned from watching the first playoff games, and I've known this, but I think this has sort of been hammered home by watching a handful of games, is that your weaknesses in the playoffs, they get weaker. If you're bad at something, they're going to find it. The level of preparation for playoff basketball is just, it's just so much different than it is for the regular season, and particularly now for the top teams there, or even the sort of middle seed teams that aren't affected by the play-in tournament. You have a week to prepare. You have a week off to kind of just like zero in on what the other team does well, and try to find what they don't do well and go get it. And I think that's really been, for me, one of the big takeaways from watching this the first round of the playoffs is that your weaknesses become so much weaker. We all kind of knew that the Jazz weakness is perimeter defense. They just do not have perimeter defenders to keep the ball in front of them. And when they can't keep the ball in front of them, the strength of Rudy Gobert as this great help defender and anchor is totally neutralized. And we saw that in Game 2 against the Mavericks. Like, this is the thing that the Clippers did to the Jazz last year. It's the thing that the Nuggets did to them in the bubble. Shades of Jamal Murray, shades of Terrence Mann. The Jazz do not have the perimeter defenders to keep the ball in front of them. And because they can't keep the ball in front of them, they can't keep the ball out of the paint. And then you're making this decision whether you're giving up a layup or Rudy Gobert helps because he's going to be a natural helper, and his man is going to be posted up in the corners for threes. And Maxey Kleber hit 8 threes, wide open threes. I believe I saw ESPN Stats and Info tweet from Tim McMahon, a reporter mostly based in Dallas, lives in Dallas. I don't know where he's based for work. But Tim shared a stat from ESPN Stats and Info that 7 of Maxey Kleber's 8 made three-pointers in the game were considered wide open. Like they were beat your man off the dribble, get into the paint, force help, kick. Get into the paint, force help, kick. And this isn't a scheme thing. Like, this isn't scheme versatility, right? Like, this isn't the thing we talked about. There's only so much you can do if Michael Conley and Donovan Mitchell can't stay in front, if Bogdanovich can't stay in front, if Royce O'Neal can't stay in front. It doesn't matter. If you're giving up, no screen, just beat your man one-on-one drives, you're going to get stuck in rotations. And if you're going to get stuck in rotations for a team like the Jazz, a team that doesn't fly around and rotate like as part of their natural scheme, you're going to get burned. Anyone who can't keep the ball in front is going to get burned. But the Jazz and their lack of perimeter defense, that weakness gets weaker in the playoffs. Jazz might still beat the Mavs. Like, they really might. Their offense really cratered down the stretch, but that weakness on defense is just glaring. You knew it was going to happen. It happened in the last two postseasons, and it came back again in Game 2, and it's like, oh yeah, this is still their bugaboo, and it's still a problem. I think the Raptors' lack of size, that weakness looks weaker now. And this was, the Raptors were funky and weird and crazy, and their lack of size, just like someone not even who can guard Joel Embiid, because like no one can guard Joel Embiid. He's the best scorer in the league. Like, he's just a force on offense, but just someone big enough that can foul out, can play 28 minutes and foul out. They don't have that. They don't have someone they can go to and foul out. That lack of size, that lack of that lack of a true center. I don't even think they would a true center would really necessarily unlock what the real problem is for the Raptors, which is that they're missing a little bit of half court juice. They need one more guy to have some more half court juice. They've obviously have some injuries, and it's hurting them and all that. Like Gary getting sick, and Scotty Barnes hurting his ankle. Like, that's part of it. But just their lack of size, specifically, like, just can you look down the bench and find one dude who could go, like I said, foul out in 28 minutes? Like, that's what they need. They need someone to foul out in 28 minutes, and they don't really have that. And that weakness is getting exposed a little bit because they just they don't have a good way to handle what Joel Embiid is doing right now. They're just fouling him a million times and sending him to the line. And they're sending double teams, and they're trying to do anything, but they're missing that. That is a weakness that is getting weaker. It always kind of seemed like this was going to come up for the Raptors, but it specifically came up quickly. I think a lot of people thought there's a general length and athletes would take care of it. But again, a little bit shorthanded, and Joel's giving him a problem. I think one of the other weaknesses that we're seeing getting exposed is that Denver just doesn't have enough depth to hang. They won 48 games in the regular season. It's a real testament to how good Nikola Jokic was and how things change in the playoffs, right? You're not playing the frickin' Warriors every night. So you can rack up some wins. And I think the Nuggets were good enough, and they play hard enough and typically to just find ways to get wins, and they might win a couple games in Denver and kind of change my opinion of them in this series. But I think Aaron Gordon's been terrible. I don't think Monte Morris, who's a true Blazer killer, has stepped up. And I think Nikola Jokic has been kind of fine. He just doesn't have the assist numbers are way down because his help isn't there. The Warriors are just a different beast. Like they look so good. They look championship level good. And the Nuggets look like just kind of a normal ass playoff team, and a normal ass playoff team against a championship level squad's getting rolled. And I think that's what you've seen. But the Nuggets lack of depth, they just need another guy to have some offense, another guy to be able to score, another guy to go get a bucket, like with any level of reliability. People are like, what about Bones Highland? Well, if you're that far down the depth chart, now last year, Bones Highland would have had like 27 in game 3 and ruined the Blazers season, but they're just playing a different animal, and that lack of depth, your weaknesses get weaker. It reminds me of how the Blazers, under the Terry Stotts seasons would just like classically end, where it's like trap Dame because the guys behind Dame can't hurt us. You get the ball out of his hands, you make Nurk or whoever it might be into a decision maker, and you spray out to the corners. And if the corners are, Mo Harkless and Al-Farouq Aminu, come what may. If it's Evan Turner, come what may. Like no one was worried about that. It was just like, this is their weakness, is they don't have a good way to counter traps. I mean, you can blame that on Dame and Terry for sure. Certainly a coaching issue, and in some ways maybe a Damian Lillard stubbornness issue, but like that's a coaching staff thing. At least the third time it happened in the playoffs, that there wasn't like an obvious counter right away. But like, your weaknesses get weaker, and then as you play better opponents, it's like, these are glaring. Like we can't turn up to this level, or if they put the clamps on us in the way that we know they're going to, we can't counter we don't have it, because your weaknesses just get weaker in the playoffs. I think that's my big takeaway. I got a final takeaway. It's about breakout stars, a little bit of happiness to end the show today. But before we get there, let me tell you about Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar on the market. I'm eating Built Bars pretty regularly, on the regular. I like them because they give you a little boost to your blood sugar without being super sugary. Plus, they're covered in 100% chocolate. They only got 4 grams of sugar and no more than 4 grams of net carbs. But they can give you a real boost because they're packing on average 17 grams of protein, 130 to 180 calories. So for me, I'm reaching for one because I know that they're going to like give me that little sweet fix that I might need in the middle of the day, but then actually add some real fuel. I like cookies and cream peanut butter brownie. Also like salted caramel. I've been known to mess with the raspberries and coconut almond, but whatever you like, you'll find flavors for you. All types of treats on built.com, plus limited time flavors. So make sure you're checking the website regularly. And while you're there, you can use the promo code LOCKED15. You'll get 15% off your next order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked on Blazers. So here's the lessons we've learned. Versatility matters, both in shape and scheme. And your weaknesses get weaker because you're playing a better competition regularly with just a really high level of scouting. But the last lesson isn't even a lesson. The thing I love about postseason basketball is that this is where stars are truly born. Some of that, and let me just be 100% on this, like let me keep it a buck for you. Some of that is just the failure of the NBA to market its regular season when there are tons of good games and great performances. But hey, the NBA put Ant Edwards and John Morant on NBA TV tonight. They don't know what they're doing, so whatever. Granted, that was the worst game of the day, so maybe they do know what they're doing. The 2 games on TNT were both closer, but like, come on, the most fun player in the league buried on NBA TV. This is classic NBA. But I'll save my hating for the regular season because the playoffs is about appreciating. And one thing I like about the playoffs, or what I love about this is where stars are born. It's where moments are made. My first year on the beat, the Blazers made the playoffs. I covered the previous playoff run, so I get a little bit confused about the timeline. But my first full year on the beat, when I was like really doing this full time, the Blazers played the Memphis Grizzlies in the playoffs. It was LaMarcus Aldridge's final year in Portland, and CJ McCollum went nuts in the playoffs. Had 33 in game 2, rather. Like, nuts. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, this dude is like good. Like, not just, he's doing this against one of the best defensive teams in the league. Like, this is just monstrous performance. Dave Yeager said, we've got a CJ McCollum problem. And they did. And then CJ McCollum was basically a problem from that game forward. He won most improved player. He started averaging 22 a game. He's now on an eighth seed that's, tied 1-1 with Phoenix after a unfortunate Devin Booker injury in the third quarter. But that's why you get in the dance, because anything could happen. So I love the playoffs because it's where these moments are made and stars are born. And I think you're seeing it with a couple guys. Tyrese Maxey is having one of those performances. Like, James Harden's taken a step back on offense. He took 9 shots in game 2, 9 field goal attempts in game 2, 8 free throws. So I guess 17 shooting possessions if you're into it. But like, Tyrese Maxey is becoming the other guy who scores a bunch at his age. He's a blur in transition. He's got real juice off the bounce, and he can really shoot at an over 40% three-point shooter. And against a Raptors team that is swarming and crazy on defense, he's the one exploiting the so much attention being paid to Joel Embiid. He's the guy who's having the breakout moment. Like, this is Tyrese max contracty, to use a terrible pun. Like, he's balling. And then on the other side, Jordan Poole is forcing the Warriors to like bench Andrew Wiggins or bench Kevon Looney and just play small. Like, the Warriors have started the first 2 games with Steph coming off the bench he's still coming back from his foot injury, but it's not like Steph Curry's going to be a 6th man because of Jordan Poole's breakout. Someone else is going, Steph Curry is an all-timer. He's going to play. That's not a question. But Jordan Poole's going to have to start at some point. Jordan Poole's having that breakout special moments. And Jordan Poole's got swagger, man. Like, he's not afraid of the moment. In fact, like, he caught one on the wing and took with Jokic kind of close to him, and he faded into the right corner and hit a fading 3 and then flexed. And then he caught one in the corner and in one motion threw an underhand left-handed pass to Nemanja Bjelica in the paint. He had a behind-the-back dime to Clay in transition. Like, he's got flair. He's just bold. He's fearless. Dude played a bunch of games in the G League last season, and now he's having this performance on this stage, 57 points in his first 2 playoff games combined. He's putting up Wilt Chamberlain numbers. So you're putting up Wilt Chamberlain numbers, you are balling. And these are these breakout moments that define and make the playoffs so special. And so what I'm thinking watching youngsters, watching 22-year-olds go nuts is like, I want that for Anferenee Simons. I want him to have this opportunity. Like, I'm not going to sit here. It's not what I do on the show, right? I'm not going to be like, the Blazers are going to win the championship. Although you see the sticker, wrong hand right there. You see the sticker, the Blazers are going to win the championship. I know the slogan. Shout out to my man, John. But I want a first round series where Anferenee Simons on the biggest stage in the NBA says, yes, the thing you saw me do in February of 2022 is real. Like, remember that February 60-day run where I was averaging, 20 and 8.5 or 20, whatever it was, 25 and 8.5 and shooting 45% from 3. And I was like one of the great ones. I was putting up Kevin Durant ass numbers like for 45 days. I want that for Ant on this stage. And I've really been thinking about this watching Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole looks like Steph Curry light. Like, his mannerisms, his off-ball movement, the way he gets into a shot so quickly, the way he's just so fluid with his with the sort of catch, shoot, turn, find the rim type of Steph Curry, just potency. Anferenee Simons is a little Dame light. Like, the side-by-sides that the Blazers put out on social media a couple times of Anferenee Simons, sidestepping to his right and splashing a 3. That's Damian Lillard. I want to see Damian Lillard light on this stage. I've seen Dame go nuts. I saw Dame score 55 in one of the great offensive performances I've ever seen against the Nuggets. Let's not talk about how that ended right now. But, like, I want that for Ant. I don't need it to happen in the Western Conference Finals. I need it to happen in, chasing the Larry O'Brien trophy. I want Ant to do what Tyrese, Maxey, and Jordan Poole are doing. I want him to have 2 good games to open the playoffs, and so the world can say, oh yeah, this dude can ball. Because those moments matter. These are fun. These are the times when young players step from, oh yeah, real basketball heads know about him, to oh yeah, this is one of the special ones in this league. Simons is it's not going to be prior to his contract like it is for Maxey and Poole, right? It's not going to be the money making May as I've heard it referred to in the past when people go nuts in the second round. But it's going to, I want that for Ant. I want him to have that chance, because last year in the playoffs wasn't very good. He had an opening game 1 against Denver. He was really good, and then he was not good in the final end of that series. The roster didn't make sense for him. It wasn't set up for Ant to be good, right? There's too many guys in front of him. But he's going to have that chance, and I want the Blazers to get back to the playoffs for Ant to have that chance, to Ant to make a moment, because these moments are fun. They're fun. The playoffs are really special. They're my favorite time of year, and it would be. Not having, I've done this for 8 years. This is the first time haven't experienced the Blazers in the playoffs. The first time I haven't been able to attend a playoff game, et cetera, et cetera. I miss it. I want to get back that atmosphere. I want to get back to the fun, and I'm a believer the Blazers can make a push. I don't know how deep that push can be, but I believe they can be back in the postseason, making special moments again. And I want that for them, because these are really fun games. And when you get to the biggest stage, or the bigger stage in the league, the lights are brighter, the mics are louder, all of that. So I'm. Yeah, let's see some breakouts from the Blazers in the future. Simons did it in January and February. Let's see him do it in April and May. That is going to do it for today's show. Make sure you check back end of the week. We are going to have Eric Griffith, friend of the program, writer for the Willamette Week, and cap expert. We're going to lay out exactly what's going on with the Blazers cap situation. Make sure you come back for that one. Make sure you tell your friends to do the same. If you're looking for us, you can find us wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube. Just search Locked On Blazers. You will find us waiting for you. Appreciate you listening. Talk to you soon.